2 ayes.
Okay, the motion is approved. At this point in time, we're moving into the finance.
Finance and Budget Committee, yes.
Good morning. The March 14th, 2024 Finance and Budget Committee is now called to order. Before we get started, we need to make certain findings on the record regarding the necessity for conducting this meeting by electronic participation without a physical quorum being present. In accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated Section 844-108B2, as chair, as
Vice Chair.
As Vice Chair of the Finance and Budget Committee, I offer the following facts and circumstances in support of a finding of necessity for the Board of Trustees Finance and Budget Committee to conduct its March 14, 2024 meeting without the physical presence of a quorum. The Finance and Budget Committee is scheduled to take up important committee matters which require timely action by the committee, including but not limited to approval of the FY 2025 compensation plan. The committee will also receive important reports on construction and facilities updates and the master plan. Finance and Budget and the Consumer Relations Strategic Plan, Enrollment, Merit Scholarships, the Personnel Action Plan, and Information Technology Replacement Plan. Participating by electronic means is necessitated by the members' in-person absence due to unavoidable travel issues. Accordingly, I move that the committee find that participation by a quorum of the committee members by electronic means of communication is necessary. Is there a second? Second. The question is on the motion to find that participation by a quorum of the committee members by electronic means of communication is necessary. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll.
Trustee Andre Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Corbell.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye. The motion carries. We'll proceed with the meeting with the quorum present. At this time, we need to call the roll. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll.
Trustee Andre Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Corbell.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
We have 3 ayes and a quorum.
Thank you. Committee members, if you cannot hear or speak to other committee members or board members, please state so now. For each committee member participating electronically, please identify any individuals who are present from a location from which you are participating. All right. The next agenda item is the approval of the November 16, 2023 Finance and Budget Committee meeting minutes. The minutes of the Finance and Budget Committee November 16, 2023 meeting are included for your review in the board materials for the March 14, 2024 board meeting. I move that the Finance and Budget Committee to recommend to the full board the approval of the November 16, 2023 Finance and Budget Committee meeting minutes as contained in the board materials for the March 14, 2024 board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? There being none, the question is on the motion to recommend to the full board the approval of the November 16, 2023 Finance and Budget Committee meeting minutes as contained in the board materials for March 14, 2024 board meeting. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll.
Trustee Andre Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Corbell. Aye. Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
The motion is approved. The next agenda item is a report and update on the fiscal year 2024 institutional revised budget. The materials related to this agenda item are included for your review in the board materials for the March 14, 2024 board meeting. President Glover or her designee will provide information pertaining to this budget item.
Thank you, Vice Chair Johnson. Going to ask Dr. Allen if you would.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you. I will turn your attention to page 64 of your board materials. In front of you, you will see the summary of revenues, expenditures, and transfers, which is our budget to actual report as of and for the period ending February 29th, 2024. The first column is our budget column. The second column is our fiscal year to date, and this is year to date as of February 29th. Okay. Just want to point out a few items on here that I think are of interest. Our tuition and fees budgeted at $99.2 million is currently, our fiscal year to date is $88.6 million. We're about $10.5 million under budget, but please keep in mind we still have to book our summer revenues. Okay, so that'll put us really close in line with what we had budgeted once that's booked. Our state appropriations, again, those come in regular intervals. Those are right on track. We'll receive the 52.5 as of the 29th of February. It's been 31.1 million. The federal grants and contracts, you'll see we budgeted 3.5 million. However, we've only recorded $36,960. What that is our indirect costs. So on our grants, we receive indirect cost revenue. And that is, again, for our overhead as it relates to grants. We normally capture that in May, early June. Excuse me. So that's why you do not see a significant portion of that being recognized on this budget to actual report. That takes our total educational and general revenues. 162.5 million is the budget. 126.2 million has been collected. And again, 36.2 million of that we do expect to collect between now and June 30th. Our auxiliary revenues, our auxiliary revenues are right on pace. We're actually just a little bit over what we had budgeted for that, which is good. Now I'm going to go down to the expenditures. We budgeted $172.3 million for educational and general, and $36.8 million for auxiliaries, bringing the total to $209.2 million. Just a few things that I want to point out here. One being the scholarships and fellowships. Okay, you all see that there was a budget of $19.2 million versus $37 million that we have booked. All right, so let me walk through that. The board approved the total total scholarships of $22.5 million. A portion of that, of the 22.5, is sitting in student services as it relates to housing scholarships. Okay. What you will then see is that last year we had several issues with students saying that they didn't get their scholarships, etc. Okay, that was going up until the spring semester. What we did is revamp that process, so we actually started awarding scholarships on July the 1st of this fiscal year. Okay, so once you award it, it's on their student's account. We see it on the back end, but the students don't see the full amount because you have to get through that semester, right? So it's the difference between seeing it on the student account, on the financial aid side versus seeing it on the student side, okay? So the number is much larger because we booked the spring revenues based on the students that had scholarships in the fall, right? Now, that number is coming down because some of those students, unfortunately, didn't meet the standards to keep their scholarships or they left, whatever. But we didn't want to go through what we did last year and make sure the students had their scholarships on their accounts so that they could better manage their financial situations with their parents and others, all right? Another portion that you don't see is that we do have outside assistance, such as the foundation and others, that support our students in scholarship means as well. Well, that's not, we have to book the expense on our books because it is a scholarship expense. However, there are transfers from the foundation to support scholarship needs as well. Okay, so you will see that number come down. One other thing I wanted to note, for 2022, If you go to the very last column, for 2023 prior year to date, I just looked at a year-to-year comparison. What happened February of last year versus February of this year, all right? And the scholarship number was at 44.2 million. It's actually come down. I did bring to the board's attention, yes, there was a lot of scholarships awarded. We did have an influx of students that helped offset the cost of those revenues, okay? But we've intentionally brought those down to level them out over time. So a full scholarship is a commitment for 4 years if a student meets those requirements, and we hope that they do. Mr. Evans and his team, we talked through the budget. The board approved $10.5 million. $5 million of that was for new scholarships. The other portion of that was for athletics and band. All right. The $5 million that was for new scholarships under Jason Evans' shop, they have not over awarded. So I didn't want anyone to think by looking at this number, oh my God, we've repeated the same process, because we have not. Okay, so I just wanted a point of clarity there. What you see is what's actually in the system. Okay, I'd rather present what is in the system, which is our record, Banner's our system of record, and then back out those scholarships for students that no longer qualify to receive those scholarships. Okay. For our total educational and general, you'll see that we're floating right along where we were last year's 132.6 million versus 132.7. Okay. As far as the E&G expenditures. Now, auxiliaries, we're still on target there. We are down, we're actually on point as it relates to scholarship for the auxiliary revenues, that being bookstore, housing, etc. All right. So we were at 32.7 million last year. We were floating around 25.1 million now. But again, we did have a decrease in the student body, which ultimately the revenues tied to, and I'll use example for dining services. I mean, that's a one-to-one relationship. That number, if we have more students, you're going to have more revenues in housing and dining services. So as of February 29th, we're at 13.2 million. Keep in mind that's to the good. We still have to get through the rest of the fiscal year, so we're right on track where we need to be from that standpoint. So are there any questions as it relates to the budget to actual?
No, but I appreciate the explanation of the numbers, so thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Dr. Allen, I just have a question.
Yes,
Would there be anything that you would identify as you explain why some numbers aren't where they need to be yet because we're waiting on additional revenue or some accruals that have happened, but is there anything from this budget to actual that you think we need to be made aware of or talk about that will impact us negatively moving forward?
I don't think so. We just have to make sure we control our spending and stay within the budget. If we do that, we'll be fine. That's what I honestly will bring to you. Again, if I thought there was something out there, I would definitely notify the board.
All right, thank you for that report. Are there any questions or discussion related to that?
Yes, just one. Probably my lack of understanding. So under the scholarships, is that 37 versus the 19 that was budgeted? Is that the sort of the equivalent of a carryover in a way?
So, yes and no. Okay, so let me explain. The total budget was $22.5 million. Right? We had recurring scholarships. We made sure that the students that had recurring scholarships, that we went ahead and awarded them and put them on their account. So that's where you see, if every single student had their scholarships renewed, then yes, that number would be hovering around that 37 million. But because, unfortunately, like I said, some students lost their scholarships, and so that number will come down. But as I stated, I wanted to show what the actual picture looked like as of the 29th.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, Chair, we'll move on.
I think we can move on to the next agenda item. The next agenda item is an update on the construction and facilities and a master plan update. For information regarding this Finance and Budget Committee agenda item is included in the board materials for the March 14th, 2024 board meeting. President Glover, please provide pertinent information related to this agenda item. This is an informational discussion item only, so no vote is required.
Thank you. Dr. Allen and Mr. Radford, Will Radford.
I'll ask Mr. Radford to please come to the podium. Mr. Radford, we can limit that to about 5 minutes.
Sure. Good afternoon. Will Radford, Assistant Vice President, Planning, Design, Construction, and Campus Operations. You will find in your packet an overview of all active projects and what's on campus. I'll point your attention to the first page, which captures the Gateway Arch. This is a project designed to be the welcoming center of the campus, so as you pull into the campus, you'll find this project. I've shown the images and graphics in your presentation, but I've also outlined this is requires Nashville Department of Transportation approval. Let me pause. Are you finding that in your packet?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I'm good. Thank you.
So this requires Nashville Department of Transit approval to construct across an active highway. We have moved forward with that. It's presently in the legal department for final review. We have already prepared procurement to procure this product through a localized solicitation so that this can happen on a pretty quick time frame. Ideally, this will be dubbed the Glenda Glover Gateway Project. Second to that, you'll see the capital disclosure for the Ed Temple track replacement. We have undergone a project with the athletics department to resurface the track. That work took place over the past 3 weeks. So we are in the finishing steps of that project that will position Tennessee State University to receive some national attention and host national events that can help raise money for the university. That project was just shy of $1 million, and that investment is positioned for the university to achieve a high return on that initial investment. There were no quarterly disclosure projects. The next is the capital projects. These are projects that are funded and submitted to the State Building Commission, and they are funded through money that comes to us. We solicit in July of 1 year, it's approved or rejected the next year, and then it's funded the final year. So 2 years ago, we were approving the new engineering building. This has been on the board for a while, but we have presently settled on a project that will have 2 phases. It'll start with a $60 million project that's about 57,000 square feet that fully replaces what we have now as an engineering building. It's designed to be a high recruitment tool for both professors as well as new students, and then industry partners that will help establish a greater level of research at Tennessee State University for the future. In your packet, you'll see 2 graphics showing both Phase 1 and Phase 2. Second to that is a $29.7 million project for the Davis Humanities Building. This is our flagship building on campus, which bears the emblem that is known for Tennessee State University, the cupola. That building will receive a complete extensive renovation, correcting water intrusion, heating and cooling systems in that building throughout, and 100% of finishes replaced, including those in the theater that were partially replaced in the past year. In addition to that Davis Humanities renovation is the Boswell study. There's an existing project that thought we would renovate Boswell's chemistry labs. It became clear to us that investing that much money in an existing structure with thermal envelope issues was not prudent. So we went back to the State Building Commission and recommended that we do a comprehensive study of the facility and then take action based on that. So at present, our plan, which is captured in the master plan, is to look at building a new lab, Sciences Common, that will connect all lab work on campus, which will prevent TSU from being in this position in the future, which is the lab renovation space costs more than you would actually want to invest in a failing building. So when we build a new lab, Sciences Common, it means we will always have a central place for biology labs, engineering labs, physics, chemistry labs, and it's contained in one structure. That is identified to go in the courtyard between Boswell, Clay, right down from Hale Hall. The future of Boswell is in question and will be determined as that study is completed, but it, as a part of our plan to create the STEM quadrant, will be an interesting site for future academic research buildings. Next is the electrical improvement project. We briefed this before. This is at present a $28 million project that restructures the way electrical power is distributed to the university. If you remember in 21, when power went out, it was because we only had one public connection point. The result of this project is to provide 2 connection points so that we can feed the entire campus from both the north and the south. That project is moving along well as relates to budget, but it is challenged by schedule because we've hit a enormous amount of rock, which is predictable in this area. So the first loop did not predict it in cost. The second loop will predict it in cost. So we do not anticipate cost overruns, but there is a schedule impact at present. This at present is down Alameda between the Strange Music Building and Watson Hall. So you see that work actively going on now. Next is in the capital projects is agriculture. There are 2 projects in agriculture right now, one being the food and animal science project and the other being environmental science project. Both of those projects are completing design, but they are anticipated to exceed the available construction budget. So we anticipate those projects requiring more funding as we get toward the end, or a hard decision being made about the overall scope and scale of that work. And I'll wrap it up with the ongoing localized projects. Campus security, we are rekeying facilities across the campus to ensure security. The policies are being put in place about how employees, once they're terminated, keys are collected and redistributed. But at present, to get ahead of that, we've taken an active project to rekey and issue building keys, limiting master keys, only issuing submasters. Lab improvements across the board. We have an active project at Harnett Hall, which increases our research capacity there. Student housing has always been a big issue. You'll notice that we do not have an active housing project now, but we are studying the P3 model and what's possible here, as well as looking forward to the resubmission of the 1,000-bedroom dorm property once the interest rates allow us to get in line with what our students historically have been able to afford. The Love Learning Resource Building went through a renovation project that was completed in the last quarter. It ensured that the waterproofing and the roof system was replaced, which minimized damage in the historical spaces of that building. The tornado recovery, I'm happy to report, we talked extensively about that last time. We have gone back from 2019 to now, and some of the claims that were being protracted or held open, we have successfully closed them, with TSU receiving just short of $2.8 million of closing funds. That's a positive for the university because, as we discussed it last time, the question was, how do you build if the time value of money has reduced the impact of your dollars? We were able to go back with the FEMA, TEMA, localized insurance provider and work to prove some of the things that were missed, which increases the number of funds available to TSU to replace projects like the boiler house, which is where our animal research of chickens takes place, which is right outside the apartment site. Lastly, I'll brief that our master plan has been received. We do have the final version of the master plan, but in the process it was delayed, and there are some matters that are contract violation issues that we are working with TBR to help resolve with the master planner. So they have completed and given us a document, but our staff has had to do quite a bit of work to actualize that document in a way that's useful to Tennessee State University. In short, it means the pricing that came with that document was not informed by local Nashville pricing, and it put TSU in a position to have to go back and reprice 100% of the work that was in that document, which was an effort that we do not enjoy paying for services and not getting them, but we have the support of TBR to go back and get this thing corrected, and we'll provide an update on that at the next board meeting. That concludes the items I'd like to present. Are there any questions?
Yeah, if I can jump back to your disclosures pages. Time frame for phase 1 engineering building?
So At present, this is slated for a 19-month design period. We are in I call it month 2 of that. So we see that coming online at late 26, early 27.
Then phase 2 for Davis?
Davis Humanities is just one phase of Davis.
Okay.
And so that project is ongoing. We've just received the schematic design documents for that project. It has similar 15-month time schedule, so that project will move faster than the engineering project.
Okay, and then you mentioned the student housing, 1,000 beds is on hold pending interest rates coming down or whatever, right?
Yes, we put the Tennessee State School Bond Authority package together. School bond package together, and the pricing came out to roughly $9,000 per semester per student. Our students are used to paying about a little short of $5,000. So we have gives us a target of where the interest rate falls to and when we would be able to submit that project.
Okay.
But at the present rates, it would not be successful for our student finances.
And I understand it is a balance of our calculus of affordability, but meeting our needs, right?
That is correct.
Urgencies, and so, yeah.
That is correct. At present, we have 3,666 rooms on campus. Our student population at the rate of 47% says we need 3,760 rooms. So we are within 3 to 5% of where we like to be. At present, all students are accommodated on campus, and there are no students in the hotels. And so that is something that we see being the present solution, and we look forward to moving the 1,000-bed project back to the top of the board as rates fall back within range. But we're also examining some of the P3 options, which benefit us by having speed to market. And some of those projects that we've sat in on from the Housing Committee, and I've supported the Housing Committee taking steps with, those could be our answer on a faster timeline than a 19-month design schedule and 24-month construction schedule.
Okay.
So it's the top of the list, but we have multiple options to solve the problem.
And I just want to I'll just add my little 2 cents here. I'm certainly an advocate for more and more and more housing for us. Ideally, in my dream situation is 7,000 beds. I know that may be a pretty big dream, but the more beds we have, greater the likelihood of us being able to increase our student body count. That's the key. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
So I have a question. It's continuing on the housing piece. I know we're repricing elements of the master plan, but do you have a sense of what the enrollment projections are going out into the future? Okay, I understand, but the housing plan,
The housing
master
plan historically has met 42 to 47% of our enrollment.
Okay.
And so we do currently have a model that we track fall and spring to receive those numbers and update our model based on those numbers.
Okay, but are there, I mean, I suppose I could wait till general evidence, but I was just wondering if you had a number or there were enrollment numbers within the master plan, because it's based on space utilization, enrollment, and other stuff, right?
You are correct. There is a number there. I would not report that number as it's
Okay.
just something we receive,
Okay.
put into a model, and then use that to scale the option.
All right. My second question is, could you give me give us sort of a general idea of what the STEM quadrant is going to contain?
Oh, yes, the STEM quadrant. So at present, the R2, R1 designation would be to build in the place of the existing engineering building when it is removed, the existing Boswell and Davis, should it be removed, new research, academic research commons, designing a space for the student population that exists to spend 12 to 18 hours a day on campus in labs, and that being proximate to our STEM functions of engineering, physics, biology, mathematics. So it's building that quadrant to keep those functions close and local, and to have housing options that are close and local, but not ideally designated. Yeah. But what it means for TSU in the future is the west entrance to campus is where the STEM quadrant lives. And what you see is Holland Hall, which is business, and Crouch Hall, which is historically the history and some of the other components. it's possible they may find another place to live as that programming continues to grow in that quadrant or campus.
Final question, is there a plan for things like clean rooms or a clean room or some of the things that would position us for some real significant opportunities in the future?
A very good question.
Yeah.
So at present, we have studied that with the new phase one of the engineering building. We determined the cost of clean room technology is 3 times the cost of expensive labs. So we're at $731 a square foot. To put in clean room technology would be well above $2,100 a square foot, which means it would shrink what we can provide for the incoming freshmen and industry partnerships. It's for that reason that we pushed it to the second phase of the project. We are looking at SCIFs, which is to secure facilities,
Yeah.
and putting those in the basement level and allowing our students to compete for high security functions. But clean room is on the table.
Okay.
On Monday, we will be at Oak Ridge National Labs studying and working with some of the scientists there on projects that they have going on. And then we will visit UT Knox to visit their clean room and some other. You can't actually go inside, but to visit and get a sense of some of the programming. And then lastly, on Tuesday, we'll be at Tennessee Tech to visit the new structure that they've recently built, and the lab sciences coming they recently built. So it is on the table, it's high on the board. The existing consultant that we have has studied it from a pricing model. It just doesn't fit in the phase one of the engineering building.
All right. Thank you.
If I add, before I ask my question, I want to say first, thank you for what you've been doing. I've seen you on campus quite a few times, and I've been seeing you just going around and working hard. So I appreciate you just from what I've seen on paper and in person. My question is, do you need any more additional resources like staffing? I see all these projects here. Do you feel as if you are able to get these things done?
Well, I continue to enjoy the support of both President Glover, Dr. Johnson, and Dr. Allen. Our vision is a team of about approximately 26 professionals, licensed architects, licensed engineers, licensed education facilities planner. I call the name of Fabian Jolivet this semester. He did the study, did the work to become a certified education facilities planner. So professional development dollars are really important, and we need more of those. We are being creative with funding as it relates to that to get people to this year's APA conference, which is a national standard for campus and facilities management resources. It's local to Nashville, so I want to take as many people as we can to minimize travel costs because it's in our backyard. And the hiring piece is challenging because you want to attract the talent, but then you need to be able to close the talent in a timely fashion. So it's less about having the approval, but more about having the right process to make that happen in a timely way that we don't lose good people.
I understand.
Well, I appreciate that question, and thank you for your kind words.
Thank you.
If I can also jump in, and I'll put my,
Question for Mr. Rack.
go ahead, Obi.
Yes, just wanted to ask Mr. Eckford, first of all, congratulations on all the hard work you're doing. But are you aware that we're in we have an affiliation agreement with a private developer that is developing student housing on the House of God property? Are you aware of it?
I'm aware of that, and we, in October of this year, met with that partner and reviewed their presentation and are aware what their numbers are. I'm aware that they met and presented to the city and the community, and that there was some requests from the city and the community to retool what they have presented. I'm not aware of what they have done in response to that community meeting, but we stand positioned to partner with them as that development comes online. But I understand the university has not determined to sign a pre-lease agreement with them. So that's the extent to which I'm aware of that project.
Yeah, well, I think it's very important that we get you connected with the developer immediately. The Nashville Building Authority has approved the issuance of $185 million worth of bonds to finance 750 bed student facility on a property leased to the developer by the House of God. And so there's a gap here in communication that I would hope that we close that gap immediately. There's been $4.5 million spent on the project at this point.
$175,000 spent for a demand study this week. And we are under an official affiliation agreement as a part of our trying to ameliorate our student housing shortfall. This may not be the appropriate time to do it, but it's very, very urgent that you and the developer have a conversation so your thinking includes what is going on there, what we agreed to do.
Yeah, I want to reiterate, we are aware of the project. We have met with that partner. We attended their meeting here on campus. We attended their meeting at Moody Nolan Architects downtown. We provided input on where we thought the location of student facilities should be on that project, where we thought student access for bus route pickup, which TSU would provide and include possibly to that project. So we are closely connected. We, based on my understanding of legal's position, just have not signed a lease agreement or any intent to lease. But I appreciate, their access and their interest in TSU's position and opinion, and that's what we've done together so far, and we look forward to working with them. I've actually briefed the state architect on that project as well, and they are in support of TSU taking advantage of all housing solutions in the immediate area.
Mr. Radford, thank you for that good report. I appreciate everything you're doing. And if there are no further questions, I think we're ready to move on to the next agenda item.
If I could just make one quick comment about the Ed Temple track, just for people to know. It is world-class surface that we're putting in, and it will be World Athletics certified, one of the only tracks in the region that is certified to uphold world records. And so that's an exciting thing for us.
Excellent. Thank you all for your time.
All right, next agenda item is the Finance and Budget Report. Information regarding the Finance and Budget Committee agenda item are included in your board materials for the March 14, 2024 board meeting. President Glover, please provide pertinent information related to this agenda item. This is an informational discussion item only, so no vote will be required.
Yes, I'll be brief. I have no additional items to report at this time.
Dr. Allen, I appreciate your brevity. Thank you so much. Next agenda item is the approval of the FY 2024 compensation plan. The materials related to this agenda item are included for your review in the board materials for the March 14, 2024 board meeting. Dr. Glover or her designee will provide information in connection with this agenda item.
Yes, ma'am. On page 73 of your board material, I am requesting approval for a 3% salary adjustment effective 7/1/2024 for fiscal year 24-25. In addition to this, last year it was, I think, highly praised that Dr. Glover, as always, was thinking about the faculty. She had provided a salary pool. I worked closely with Madam Provost and Dr. Bill Johnson to ensure that it was aligned properly, and I think it was a huge benefit. So at the end of the day, I would like to request approval for that. The cost of this, in the state's, in the governor's budget, he did approve $1.8 million in a 3% salary pool. That does not cover the total cost for the university. The total cost is about $2.6 million. And again, so we would cover that difference for that. The difference is that we have to also include benefits. Okay, so it's the salary and the benefit adjustment for that.
So are you saying that the net effect to the university is about $800,000?
That is correct.
All right. So last year, what did we do?
Last year we did 5.5% salary adjustment, yes.
So in 2 years, it'll be 8.5?
So actually, the year prior to that, we did 6%. Last year, 5.5, and this year, we're at requested 3%.
So that's 14 and a half in the last
Yeah.
3 years.
And that is substantially greater than any other institution in this state. We recognize that it does cost more to live in this city. Several of our staff and faculty live outside of Nashville. So we just, given that we had the finances to do that, we wanted to take advantage and extend that to the faculty, staff, and other members here that are present.
Of course, I'm in support of that. Just a question as comparison to what the same position is at other institutions, how do we rank?
So this year, we're right in the ballpark. I spoke to some of my colleagues, the other CFOs at the other LGIs, and they're right along 2.5% to 3.5% is what they were gauging, but they haven't finalized.
I don't mean the increase. I mean just in general. It does a professor, a full professor at UT. How would we compare to that
Okay,
for the
so
same?
I think Dr. Glover may want to respond to that more.
We're less than UT. We're less than the other schools. I think we're on par with one of them. We've been trying to work each year to bring us up to equal the average of the schools. We're not quite there yet, but we've certainly made some great strides.
All right, thank you. I think we're moving in the right direction. We have to understand that our human resources are important here, and they make the school with the students. And so we need to keep people here, and we also need to attract the best people. So, Dr. Milton.
Yes, I would like to add, we currently have a salary study for the faculty going on, and we'll have recommendations in a couple of weeks.
Great, thank you so much. Any further discussion related to this? All right, thank you, Dr. Allen. If there are no further question or discussion, I move that the Finance and Budget Committee recommend to the full board for the approval of the fiscal year 2025 compensation plan as contained in the board materials for the March 14th, 2024 board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? The question is on the motion to recommend to the full board the approval of the fiscal year 2025 compensation plan as contained in the board materials for the March 14th, 2024 board meeting. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll.
Trustee Andre Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Corbell. Aye. Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
3 ayes.
The motion is approved. The next agenda item is a report on the Consumer Relations Strategic Plan. Information regarding this agenda item is included in your board materials for the March 14th, 2024 board meeting. President Glover, please provide pertinent information related to this agenda item. This is an informational discussion item only, and no vote will be required.
Thank you. We're going to ask General Jason Evans. We'll see what kind of... Oh, I see him. If you would present. Pull the chair up to, oh, you're going to get up.
Thank you.
General Evans, your turn.
Okay, good afternoon, Chair Cole, President Glover, and board members. Based on Trustee Martin's request last board of a strategic plan, the strategic plan for the customer relations is in here. I won't read it to you, but I'll highlight it, and we can discuss it as you want to. And so what we did is I'm on page 77. It's not very long because what we did is stay nested within the TSU strategic plan and those 4 goals there. We provided a little background, provided a little data there, and the data really pertains to student inquiries that we've collected to date. And then we made sure that based on the metrics, both the operational and long-term metrics, they were nested within the strategic plan.
Did you say page 77?
I'm on page 77, yes, ma'am. That's the start of the background of the strategic plan. And then it goes through, I think, page 81. What I would like to comment on is how quickly and how well the customer relations office stood up. Big kudos to Jessica Powell and her staff. Please stand up, Jessica. This stood up in July, and you can see in here we're over about 600 inquiries. We've had Christy Binky who's the state HRO down here. We've met with her. She's complimented us on how quickly we respond and how efficiently we respond in detail to the inquiries. We are fewer HRO inquiries than we were last year. And so we typically resolve inquiry within 48 hours. Some are, of course, a little more complex, but the commitment is to get to 48 hours, and the preponderance of those are all student inquiries. And we've provided the breakdown by staff before to you, and you can see on page 79 and page 78 how those break down. Well, I'm sorry, page 79. And then with any plan, we've got some operational metrics there on page 80. But really getting to the heart of this is when will this end, right? And so if you look at page 81, we did some benchmarking there. And really what we want to do is work our way out of this business and be like our peer institutions where you have a one-stop shop, and that's the function it performs. And so at the end of this, I think 2 to 3 years, maybe a couple years, you'll see customer relations and the one-stop shop we have now, they should fold into one. And I think that the people that we have doing the customer relations, that should all fold together, because the one-stop shop that's here now, I think is probably a little undermanned for the volume. But that's the intent, is to work our way out of the business, be modeled like the other institutions, and have a one-stop shop, and you can solve student inquiries that way.
So does the one-stop shop report to you?
It does not. We work very well with Dr. Bryant. It reports to Student Services. What we did is integrated the database or application that she uses to do the student inquiry, so we don't have a disconnect. She still does some student, vectoring, but the inquiries come to us, and we work very well with Dr. Bryant. But my recommendation would be at the end, that one-stop shop work for somebody, and probably would be customer relations folding down into it. I'm not sure if student services where it should be or where it should be under the COO, but it's running pretty effectively right now.
So was your office responsible for retention and admission too? I see it's financial aid information in here too. I'm trying to put my head around what reports to you and what reports somewhere else.
No, retention, we work with Dr. Melton's in terms of the retention. She has Dr. Anderson over there. The report you and I discussed in November, the volume of that. So, we work.
So you're still admissions and recruitment?
That's correct. But we get the information in terms of retention.
But the retention is only for freshmen.
For you?
Yeah, that's what we got from enrollment management.
So retention left you and went to
That's
academic
correct.
affairs. But retention is only for freshmen.
The retention coordinators that were transferred from enrollment management is designated only for freshmen. We have academic coaches for our sophomore, juniors, and seniors. But that unit was over in enrollment management and was transferred over.
Thank you.
Any?
Yes, so which departments have you already met with?
We've met with all of them. Jessica, as soon as she got on the ground, she met with all of them.
Okay.
And I've probably talked to every cabinet member and brought these issues to cabinet members. And sometimes I communicate directly with cabinet members depending on the complexity and priority of the inquiry.
So in regards to tracking, what are you asking them to submit to you so you can make sure you're on point in regards to your tracking?
I think that's a great question. I think what we do is submit to them what we're getting in terms of inquiry, because if you see a repeat inquiry and it keeps coming back, that means you might look at a procedure or a policy. And so what we do, there's no inquiry that is resolved unless it's resolved with the department, so that they can understand exactly what's going on. So this data and the inquiries are shared with the cabinet members.
Okay, so how often, so as soon as you receive those, are you sharing that information with them and asking them to resolve it immediately?
Yes.
That's the way this is going?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And on instances, I have to personally go to a cabinet member so we can get the student an answer quickly, or the parent an answer quickly. So I even take inquiries myself.
Okay. And so we're actually documenting.
Oh,
We're
we have
documenting.
yes, ma'am. We have a database that Jessica, it's a customer relations email, but we have a database where we record every inquiry and the resolution thereof.
Okay. Did you have, I didn't want to interrupt you. And so your overall goal is not to have all of these customer service issues that we've had in the past?
That's correct. It's through repetition that the learning becomes that we're reflexive in responding, and responding in a time frame or metric that we assign to ourselves. That's why from the onset we assign to customer relations, you're going to resolve this in 48 hours. If you can't get it resolved, then you need to come to me. So I think it's just the repetition of this will eventually have the departments thinking the same way and acting the same way, because Jessica and her crew are tenacious about having to get this done, and where's the inquiry. And so to answer your question, yes, but it takes repetition and it takes training, and I think that we will get there. That's why, from my estimation, having been in this business before in HR, I think we're probably about 2 years away from taking our hands off, taking the training wheels off, if you so to speak, before it's institutionalized.
So I know in some of the other committee meetings, we were talking about things getting resolved in a timely manner. So when people have questions, they come to your department, questions, and you provide the answers?
Yes.
So, okay.
We provide the answer only after coordinating with the specific department. We do not provide an answer independent of coordinating it with the cabinet or the responsible unit. They get to see the answer that goes back, because we don't want to assume that we have the answer. But yes, I've answered myself well into maybe 100 students and parents, I think, talking to them myself. I get inquiries myself, and so we do respond, but we make sure it's a coordinated response. And the response is documented in a database.
Okay, and then my last question, I don't want to take up all the time, but is HR?
HR is in
Okay.
finance.
You get away with that one.
I have the personnel, but you did assign me the personnel action plan, and so
Absolutely.
that's in here for.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
My question real quick. I just wanted to ask about the one-stop shops. We already have a one-stop shop.
Yes, there's a one-stop shop that's in student services that was operational when I was here. Dr. Bryant was here operating it alone, and she was basically trying to orient students, and she was taking some inquiries. But after Jessica stood up, they met, and so Jessica is on point for all inquiries.
So the goal is, we're going to merge them?
The goal is to be like other institutions that have a one-stop shop, and it's merged.
Okay.
Yes. And it's fully staffed.
I don't know that you know this answer, but I hope you do. Have we seen a decrease in calls and contacts to HERO as a
Yes.
result of this?
Yes, we have.
Thank you.
So I think last year we were over about 18. Jessica, what's the number now? About 12 or? Yeah, we were well over 18 HERO inquiries last year. Yes.
What kind of inquiries? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
So the HERO inquiry is the state Okay, I'm sorry. The HERO is probably the highest level within the state an inquiry gets elevated to, and it gets a lot of attention.
Yeah, I just didn't hear what he said first.
Yes. Go ahead, Jessica.
No, you cited the correct numbers.
Okay,
so.
got it. Thanks.
So 18 last year, and what's our count now, do you know?
As of this academic year, it's less than 10.
Okay, thank you.
So, your department handles the inquiries from the HERO office, and I just want to make sure I got it straight.
No, that is correct.
Okay, and what else is handled in that area?
So any inquiry that students, parents, alumni have, and so really the purpose of my department is so that we don't have HERO inquiries, and really the word has kind of gotten out about our department, and so people feel comfortable coming to us if they are trying to navigate the TSU system and are having any challenges doing so. And so they contact us about a whole host of things, everything from trying to get transcripts to, changing courses to financial aid questions and a whole array of various different issues.
How many people are in that in your department?
We just hired an administrative assistant, so right now we have a total of 3. It's myself, Sierra Walker.
Ms. Walker,
Will you please stand? Who is our program manager, and Jessica Green, who is in day 4 in our administrative role.
So the information comes into your area, and then you refer that information out to
The specific,
Specific
what happens, the intake
department.
is Jessica records, and now what we like to do is we'll take the phone call, but we typically want people to use the email because we want to document it. Because what people say on the phone is different what they will put in writing. And so the inquiry comes, and Jessica then will assess the inquiry and immediately coordinate with the department that's responsible to get a response or get the resolution. And then the response or resolution, they'll reply back to the parent, back to the alumni, back to the student, and we've had some from faculty and staff. So that's, and our goal is 48 hours. Of course, some inquiries are a little more complex, and it takes a little longer to work, but we've been pretty much on the mark in terms of getting back to people in a timely manner.
So that's why you mentioned that eventually, I guess what I'm saying, we went from 18 to
Down to
10.
10.
So we're about to put ourselves out of business in a minute, so that's why you
Right.
mentioned about
Right.
the combination.
Right. There's 2 things about the numbers that are good. One, that the HERO number is going down, and 2, the internal number is going up. Because that means it's working. People are reporting.
Yeah, so more people,
It's in-house now.
more people are coming in-house
That's
rather
exactly
than
right.
going to the state. Is it?
More people trust that they can get a response from us than going to the state.
Correct.
And they can get it from us faster than they can get it from the state.
Absolutely. I like to, and Mr. Evans is spot on. I like to say that we are a liaison between whoever the customer is, whether it be a student, a parent, what have you, and the necessary department at TSU.
Real quick, going back to our conversation about communication on how we control our narrative, is there a way we can get this out? Like the good news. I'm asking the board. I'm asking, is there a way we can share this with the students, with the alumni, about what we have done? That was an issue a year or 2 ago when it came to customer relations and issues that students were bringing up. Because this is good news. And again, going back to controlling our own narrative, but we know that we're doing a good job. But does our family and our community know? And so I'm just asking that.
Yeah,
Throwing it out
I
there.
think your question is, can we add that to the package of ammunition?
Right.
Yes, and we can provide that.
And that's important, because what it sounds like that's actually happening now, instead of people calling the university 2, 3, 4 times and not getting a response,
Right.
and then going to the state and then coming back to the university. Now they probably feel a lot more comfortable starting here and maybe only having one phone call. That's what I hope our goal is, to receive one phone call, and that phone call is answered. So I guess, Chair Kosi, you look like you're getting ready to put yourself out of business. So what else are you doing in case this goes away? What else are you
I'll just say
covering? What's your plan, sir?
Look, I know General Levin's going to have an exhaustive answer to that, but in consideration for time, I know we have several more agenda items, and then we have the board meeting. So, Trustee Martin, if you wouldn't mind, can we defer that answer until the next one?
I might not have a next one. Can I get an email in regards
Absolutely.
to that? I would appreciate it because I just don't want any of the calls to continue, and I'd just like to see
Absolutely.
I'd be happy. to
how
send
we're
you
moving
an email.
forward.
I'd be
Thank
happy to
you.
send you an
I
email.
appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, General Evans.
Yes, sir.
The next agenda item is an enrollment update. Information regarding this agenda item is included in your board materials for the March 14th, 2024 board meeting. President Glover, please provide pertinent information related to this agenda item. This is an informational item for discussion purposes only.
Yes, ma'am. I'm on page 88. I'll allow you guys, everyone to get there, as we've provided a little more fidelity on numbers based on feedback last time. As it is our practice, we provide the undergraduate application pool analysis, and so this shows you really since 18 the total admitted, denied, incomplete, withdrawn, canceled, and grand total. Now I'll go to the incomplete because that generated discussion last time, and what we do normally have is an average of 35% incomplete in terms of applications here. We're right about it at 40% incomplete. We don't see that as a bad thing. That means you're screening for what you need to be screening for. But what you'll see further down the page, I'll show you what actions were taken to try to get the students to provide the appropriate documentation. This next one, if there are no questions, the next slide down, this is the new first-time freshman for fall 24. This just gives you what we're working on now in terms of applications. And so if you look to that first column there, that says, the second column, I'm sorry, that says total interest, and it says 25,439. Those are all the students on the Black Common application that either have applied or shown interest in TSU. They clicked and maybe started but didn't complete. And if you go to that next column, total applications submitted, 12,159. Those are the students from that population that actually have submitted an application to us. And so those are the applications we're working through now, and you can see the total that have been completed. The next column over is 7,130. The total that have been admitted to date on that is 4,787. And then those the intent to enroll. Now the intent to enroll is important because that's the yield. And what our goal is for fall 24 is the same goal for first-time freshmen is 1,783. That was our goal for this fall. That's what we achieved for fall 23. So we stayed on that goal. The goal for transfer students is 350.
So from historically, what's the conversion percentage from those who tell us they intend to enroll to actually show up? What's that number? Is it 15% dropout, or what is? I'm trying to forecast.
Yeah, I can get you that. I don't have it,
Okay.
but I got numbers I can run based
Okay.
on history that I
Yeah,
can do.
that would be a good
I
number
can do
to have.
that.
So thank you.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I can do that. But really, good news story here. You can see the 1,160, how close we are to the goal now of 1,783, and we're here in February. If you go to the incomplete application for the first-time freshman, what are we doing about it? And so you can see that right now there's 4,905 incomplete applications. 1,669 of those are transcripts, and then the other are test scores that they haven't submitted. And there's a combination of students in here that have both, not done both. And so what we've done is communicated weekly to students about the missing documents, text messaging them, because we know that's what the young people like to do. And so we're actively calling those students because we want to get them here, and we're competing with other universities and HBCUs, so we have to stay on them and communicate with them to get their application complete because I think if you just leave it out there, then they'll find somewhere else to go. So that process is ongoing, and we also know about where these students are, so when the recruiters go out, they go out to those areas, and hopefully those students will come out to those events, and if they need help getting we can upload transcripts or get all that done then. So we're really targeting these students with the incomplete applications to get them over the finish line so we can get them in it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so are we back on requiring ACTs?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We require, the only time that you can get a 3.2, if you have a 3.2, you get admitted, but you still have to submit your test score. Other,
You mean because we didn't require it during the COVID time period?
Right.
Yes, it's back on.
that's
after
the
that.
requirement now.
So am I reading this correctly, General Evans, that for fall 2024, we are admitting the 4,752 at the bottom of the page, is that correct? Huh?
Yes.
On page
That-
88, is that?
Right, so here's the deal with that.
Okay.
Admitted is different than intent to enroll.
Okay,
So once you get, so we're projecting to get 1,783. We think we need a population of 3,000 to intend to enroll, because, right, that's where you're getting the yield, because the student's now serious. They've met the application requirement. I'm now intending to enroll, but you still have a summer melt. But we think it's probably about almost 2 to 3 to 1 to get what we
Okay.
need. So that's why we're trying to get the 4,905, get them through, because we know we're going to need students that have the test scores and the transcripts and get them to intent to enroll so we can get to the goal of 1,783.
okay, I just, thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
I got one other question. How are we looking in terms of the percent of out-of-state student compared to in-state? Are we improving on our in-state student enrollment?
I would tell you, since I've been here, and Lamar, stand up. Lamar is the director of admissions. He's done a super job of really getting the science and data analysis on this. What I owe you is that kind of analysis, but what I will tell you, it's lopsided right now. And some of that has to do with, we provide discounts, the 250-mile radius discount. So you have Indiana, and you have Chicago, or students in that area, and they're considered out of state. So we're well known, we're a well-renowned university, and you provide an incentive for out-of-state students to be here, but it's lopsided right now in terms of out-of-state versus in-state.
Let me add to that. Yesterday morning, we had a pre-meeting with the Senate Education Committee, and that was one of the items I followed up on, I believe in the afternoon session. They were pretty brutal about having so many out-of-state students. So we have to let them know the same thing that General Evans just said to you, that is that we're an international organization, and students want to come here. They want to come back to HBCUs, and in so doing, they choose the top HBCUs, in which TSU managed to be one. It happens to be one of those schools. So they choose TSU. They choose in record numbers. So we're going to have to try to control it, because I did commit to them that we want to keep their percentage basically even or have more in-state and out-of-state, because the way they view it, and I can't say they're wrong, is that they're supplying a state school for students in the state of Tennessee, and we have to get some out-of-state students, we will. But, I think at one time, North Carolina, I think it was A&T got fined $2 million for having too many out-of-state students. So we don't want to be in that position. So because we are who we are, we have become, students want to come here.
Yeah, we'll need to adjust the recruiting strategy, but we spend a lot of time on our number one recruiting city in Memphis. So we hold a lot of events up there in Memphis. Memphis is the number one recruiting
Memphis.
city.
No comments from
For
anybody
us,
else.
so we spend a lot of time there, and we're trying to cultivate getting quality students. And so you'll see on this next one that, compared to last year, that next block down.
My last question, are we
yes,
getting
yes,
more
ma'am.
students from like the metropolitan Nashville area? I know we did an outreach to schools and things here.
There's an intent to do that. We have a program with MNPS where we signed on to 100 scholarships for them, full cost scholarships. And the last couple of years, they did 65 last year, and they're right at 70 some this year. But I think if they can't use them all, to your point, we have other in the metropolitan area where we can attract the kids with those scholarships. Okay, so if you look at the next chart down,
That's okay.
there's a comparison this time last year in terms of the applications, total admitted, and you can see there's about 9,000 admitted, we're about 4,000. It's really 5,392 as of today, so it's about 640 more. GPA, we're a little higher than last year. ACT is about the same, and the SAT, it's about a little lower. So that's just a comparison in terms of the quality of the student. And then on slide 89, there's a year-over-year comparison there for first year freshman versus fall of 24. So this time last year, they were at, and the confirmed is really the intent enrolled. Those are kids were close to yielding. You see last year they were at 854 this time, and we're at 1,160. And then you can see the GPA and the ACT.
Okay, Dr. Johnson, you had questions about enrollment that I know you sent in writing. Does this address your questions that you had, sir?
I got some. Yes, Dr. Melton, Provost Melton has provided me with some retention numbers that I thought were important to have, so thank you.
And then we'll get into the enrollment spring update. You can see the count there, the head count last year for 23 and the head count now. The spring term for 2024, that number is 6,250. And then if you go to the graduate rate, that number is 1,180, just for a correction. And then the slide below is the enrollment by classification. And so total spring enrollment for 24 is 6,250.
General Evans.
So that's how many students we project to have, no,
That's how many are enrolled for spring. Yes, so 24 right now.
We have 6,250.
250.
Is that full-time or is that total?
That's total.
Head count.
That's head count. Yes.
Do we have a,
It's both undergraduate and graduate.
okay, do we have a projection, do we have a projection of where we might be for fall? Oh, I missed it, I'm sorry.
Right. No, I don't have the projection. To the point of Will Rafford, we take the projection for 25 is out of the strategic plan, and the projection is about 10,000 total students and about 7,500 that would be undergrad. And so when you were talking to Will Rafford about what's the projection, we were using the projection that's in the strategic plan for 25 right now. And so
Hold on. Last year this time, they really kind of took us to task over having 10,000 students for our projection when we didn't have the housing. I knew where you were headed with that, but we didn't have the housing to support them. And so yesterday when I testified to them, I told them we're going to keep it between 8,000 and 8,200. That's what we're thinking. That's what we can manage housing-wise. You know, most universities don't make their decisions based on housing. We're kind of forced to do ours just for the sake of peace, based on the amount of housing we have. So, with that being the case, 8,200 or so is where we can land and feel safe.
Well, we based on the beds we have now, but looking into the future, we'll have more. We got to have more beds so we can have more students.
well, the only reason why I brought that up is if you're looking for a projection
You're right.
out in the future.
That's right.
And Dr. Glover's right. We're not looking at 10,000 next year, but there probably needs to be more modeling done in terms of what the future number would be. But right now in the strategic plan, the future number is around 10,000.
Right. So I think it would be helpful for growth purposes and for planning purposes and for programs and all of the things, that we'd like to have and we'd like to become, to begin to think about what that number is. Now, I always have a number in my head, and it's 20,000 students.
Right.
And I've been 20,000 students for a couple of years now.
Right.
So
I just think we need to probably do some more modeling on that.
All right.
And I'll add to that. I was going to speak to this later on this evening, but I remember learning about a decade or so ago that TSU was projected to have almost close to 15,000 around 2018. You got to fact check me on that information, but again, about a decade, a little bit more of a decade, I just concerned about this is not towards you, but I'll go into Mr. Pinnock's point about growth and reaching that 20,000. I know how this institution is premier, but 6,000 students. I've been saying 9,000. I thought we were around that range. So I just want to say that on record.
Yes, we in fall 22, we had the 9,000. We were on our way. But they had to put the brakes on us because I have to keep reminding, we're coming out of COVID, and we did the marketing to the students and the parents who want their students to come to TSU. We have become who we are. So it's difficult to tell students, no, we're reaching our limit now with 8,000. That's means we can house. So we're hoping that it doesn't do us so much damage that we can't come back and recover from that. 2 or 3 years now, we get a new residence halls. We can really house more students. That's where we are now. That's reality of our legislature. What they put on us, we can have. We're governed. We're a creature of the state. So what you do, what the state has in mind for us when it comes to housing.
That's what I was speaking towards. Is I just think that cap is wrong. And
we do too.
Yeah.
We think it's wrong too, but our solution is to just try to work with them to have them understand that other schools do things differently, and we're TSU and we're doing it the way they're asking us to. But that's by no means the model for other universities or for HBCUs.
Yeah, so it's a fine balance between what we're limited by for housing and legislative thing, but it's also an important factor to be able to figure out what the minimum enrollment is for us to cover our costs. And I know Doug Allen is working on some software to be actually figure out our break-even numbers.
We basically know what that number is. It's not something we're going to release to the public.
Yeah.
We know what that number is.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Merit scholarships?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Let me,
go ahead.
Let me do my perfunctory duty.
I'm sorry.
The next item on the agenda is the merit scholarship update. Information regarding this agenda item is included in the board materials for the March 14th, 2004 board meeting. President Glover, please provide pertinent information related to this agenda item. This information is for discussion only. No vote is required. General Evans, I'm sorry.
I apologize for jumping the gun there. We'll just get to page 93, and this lays out the scholarship plan for 24 that was approved during the 16 November board meeting. Just to go over it again, we added a tier 3, which will help with sophomores and juniors and seniors, because previously these scholarships were solely for first-time freshmen. So hopefully you can improve retention with the incentivization of that. If you go to the next page, 94, that just kind of shows you where we're at now. There's a total of, our budget is $5 million. We've got 420, and to date, we've got, you can see the number of offers, but the number of offers that have been confirmed, it shows you 148. The update of that is really 189. So we're making great progress. Holly Blakemore, Holly, you here? Stand up, Holly. She does an outstanding job of tracking these merit scholarships and getting them out and getting them back and getting them processed. And so I think we're looking pretty good. We're almost 50% of the total that we have right now. So I think we're going to get through them in the next few months.
Thank you for adding in the tier 3. The upperclassmen are a group that has been left behind.
Actually, that was Holly Blakemore's idea because of the number of students that come to her and say, hey, I need help. And so we came to the board. It makes sense. It's sophomores and juniors and seniors. It's really, I think, will help with retention, particularly those kids that are quality kids. You hate to see a kid have to leave who has a high GPA and is a good student because they can't afford to be here.
General Evans, have we addressed the issue of clearly communicating scholarships and how funds are applied, and if you have outside scholarships that it's not refundable, so that we don't have that confusion again that was brought up by the legislature?
So I will tell you from the merit scholarship standpoint, yes. Holly has rewritten the offer letters to be more specific about what this scholarship offers and what it does not offer, and what you have to do in terms of maintaining the scholarship in terms of GPA and the number of credit hours that you have to take a semester. It's all done in writing, and it's recording. She sends out offers. We can even tell when they open it up. We have a piece of software now that we can tell how many times they've looked at it. And then we've provided, for any exceptions, we've documented for any exceptions, because we do have some seniors that get to their senior year and they only need, 6 credit hours, and you don't want to penalize them because they can't get to the 15. But everything is codified and is tighter.
Thank you.
And I'm assuming it's clear that it's last dollar in or not last dollar in, right?
Right.
So, thank you.
And I know we're way behind, but again, the legislature asked us several questions yesterday about scholarships.
Right.
Well, it was more scholarships in conjunction with students getting purged. So as a student it has gotten purged, the first thing that's always said is my scholarship wasn't applied. So we made sure we went back and looked at every single student that was on the purge list and they got purged. And we don't. It's not our intent to purge anybody. But they know the last thing I hate to do is send a student home. So
Right.
we make every effort. But there's just some balance was just so high there was nothing we could do about it.
Right.
And so we had to purge those students. And so we had to make sure. I think they're told legislators that it was because their scholarship and financial aid was not posted. So we went through each one of them. We went through everybody on the list and made sure we called and tried to get them to come by, sign your financial aid form, even if they have the financial aid pending. Some had forms that had not been signed yet. We just gave it to the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
There were those we just couldn't do anything more for that we had to purge. Now that's a sad day always for a president, for a vice president. You got to tell a student you got to go home, but we let them know that there was no scholarship that was not posted, so that we can put an end to that. There's a lot of misconceptions and miscommunications out there, and a lot of it's deliberately done, and we're aware of that. It's not always done by us at TSUs. Sometimes done by others. Sometimes done by those down there they're talking to.
Right.
And so we're clear on that.
Right.
So we just do our best to work through that situation, let people know that no, nobody got purged who got a scholarship pending.
I've taken several of those calls, and to your point, Madam President, some people didn't have scholarships that they thought they had when you go look at it.
All right.
Do we have any more money that we can give out in scholarships?
Well, so the plan is once we get to the $5 million threshold, because, and we've talked to VP Allen about this, we're going to have kids on a list that we're maintaining that have high GPAs and good scores, and we're about $3.5 million through that $5 million right now. So the plan is to come back to the board once we get to the $5 million threshold. That's why we're trying to get the offers out quickly, to beat the other schools to the punch, and then come back and ask for more money, because we'll have a list of kids that we would want to offer to.
All right.
All right. The next item on the agenda is an update on the Personnel Action Plan. Information regarding this Finance and Budget Committee agenda item is included in your board materials for the March 14, 2024 board meeting. President Glover, please provide pertinent information related to this agenda item. This is an informational discussion only, so no vote will be required.
Okay, so continue, General Evans.
Okay, I'm on page 98. Based on the board resolution report, you asked us to do in paragraph 2 the purpose. That's what you asked. That's what was done. It's been presented in the last 3 board meetings. We've looked at the organizational structure, looked at performance, and looked at staffing, and looked at some other general things. And so if you go to page 99, you asked specifically about staffing on certain positions. You can see what's filled and what's in progress right now on page 99 and page 100. No questions there, but I just use a military term on page 101. This is the proposed action on the objective. If you look at the next steps.
When it says a position is in progress, does that mean that we're interviewing someone? Is that what that means?
Yes, ma'am. They're either interviewing or recruiting someone, but the recruitment action has been let.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is a report on Information Technology Replacement Plan. Information regarding this agenda item is included in your board materials for the March 14, 2024 board meeting. President Glover, please provide pertinent information related to this agenda item. This is for informational discussion only. No vote will be required.
Hi, good afternoon. Tim Warren, CO, Tennessee State University. It's a habit to say that. Last board meeting asked for an infrastructure plan update. I'm passing out one that's a little more comprehensive than the one that's in your book. What we looked at was all the main infrastructure on campus, and you can see this one here is broken up by equipment from the main data centers versus our firewalls, versus our internet access providers, versus our network cord switches, the wired switches, the wireless, and then I break it down into funding. And you can see here, we currently have 24 servers on campus, and that may not sound a lot, but these servers are virtual servers, so they're actually 300 to 400 servers running virtually under these servers here. They're all old. You can see we purchased most of them in 2012, 2013. Same with the backup servers on the downtown campus. The firewalls are in good shape. We just purchased those not long ago. And you can see here we plan to do them in fiscal year 30 is when they're due to be updated. So what we've done is we've gotten a loan, a zero interest percent loan, compliments of Student Freedom Initiative, and they're helping out all HBCUs, providing interest-free loans. And so we've already purchased $3.32 million worth of Cisco equipment that's going to replace our servers, it's going to replace the firewalls, it's going to replace the routers. And you can see on my list here, we have 5 internet routers going out to different areas. It's going to replace our network core switches and all of our wired switches on campus, 360 of them. And so that's going to carry us out for the next 5 years for that infrastructure piece. I've also put down here our wireless network. We've got roughly 2,900 wireless access points on campus. I've got those broken out in FY 25-26. We need to replace 1,600 of them in the res halls. Those were some of the first ones we put out there. 450 of them we need to replace in 26-27. Those are offices and classrooms. And then again in 28-29, we have 850, which are in the new buildings right now, that'll be due to be replaced. Funding-wise, on the sheet I just handed out, you can see that we've already purchased the $3.32 million in equipment with a 0% interest at $644,108 a year. Anticipated server costs in FY25, because we've already replaced 5 servers. Servers are a lot newer now than they used to be, so those 5 are replacing 15 of the servers out there. We need to replace 8 more servers at anticipated cost of $251,625. The anticipated wireless access points for 25-26, $450,000. Anticipated WAPS costs for the wireless access points for 26-27, $125,000. And anticipated wireless access points for 28-29 is $212,000. And then the anticipated firewall costs will be about $1.2 million. So further down, I've listed funding per year. FY25, $1,141,721. FY26, 964, not 1109, 109. FY27, 845, 109. FY28, 77, 359. FY29, 770,358. And then in FY30, under 1.2 million to replace the firewalls.
Go ahead, Dr. Mills.
Yes, Tim, I want to publicly thank you and your team for all of the support of building up our SMART Center. Without your team and that infrastructure, we would not be nationally known. So I just want to say that to you, Mike Mead, and to your staff.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you again.
One of the things we did on our internet about 5 years ago is we brought in a company to bring in fiber to our campus. We put the fiber from POP in Nashville to our campus, fiber from our campus to the downtown campus, and then fiber from the downtown campus to the POP in Nashville. So that's a 10 gig triangle there. So if we ever have any problems, we can reroute traffic either way. And that really helped with the downtown campus. Any questions?
Thank you. I think that's a great report. And looking at this, I see that, there might be some questions later just related to growth. Some of these things seem kind of far out to me in terms of, I didn't think technology would last 10 years or 9 years. I thought it changed so fast, we would have to replace it much faster. But I appreciate the detail in this report and everything you've done to support Dr. Melton and the rest of the university from a technological standpoint.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Cisco servers is what most of the cloud vendors use in their cloud hosting environment, and they just tend to last forever.
Okay.
Eventually, they quit being supported. That's time to get rid of them.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there any additional business for this committee? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Any discussion? Hearing none, the question is on the motion to adjourn the meeting. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll.
I take it you seconded that motion then.
Second.
Trustee Andre Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Corbell. Aye. Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
With 3 ayes.
Adjourn.